So I want to do a quick video explaining WordPress. So there's no doubt that you've heard of WordPress, but there's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. So it's still the same company. A company called Automatic owns WordPress. And they have WordPress.com, which is a blogging site, similar to like a Squarespace, in that you're a little bit limited on what you can do with it. And the reason is WordPress.com runs on WordPress multi-site. So WordPress themselves is hosting a WordPress website that allows multiple websites to be opened. So they have thousands, I think tens of thousands of installs on their multi-site. So when you sign up for WordPress.com, you're boxed into the limited set of tools that WordPress allows everyone on WordPress.com to use. So all of the tools that you may have heard of, different plugins and things, aren't necessarily compatible with WordPress.com. You're limited to what they have. You can't install extra plugins. What you want to use is WordPress.org. So the difference is WordPress.org is self-hosted WordPress. So what self-hosting means is that you'll need to buy a hosting package with a web hosting company. I suggest Cloudways and SiteGround, just depending on your situation. And I'll get into that more in other videos. I would suggest, though, to stay away from things like Bluehost, HostGator, GoDaddy. Those are larger companies. One of the reasons that those hosting companies get so much press, so much publicity, so many people suggesting them, is because of their affiliate programs. So Bluehost is probably one of the most recommended web hosting providers, but it's because they have the highest payouts on commissions for affiliates. So there's a lot of people that have YouTube channels and other things that just suggest Bluehost because they pay the most whenever you use their link to sign up for hosting. I do affiliate marketing. I also have links for Cloudways and SiteGround, but I've also used both companies. And right now, Cloudways is the company that works best for my company. That's where all of my clients' websites are hosted. That's where my websites are hosted. And that's who I trust. Bluehost and those other companies, not only are their commissions higher, that's why they get so many suggestions, so much publicity, but they're owned by a larger conglomerate that has bought up all these smaller hosting companies as they were growing, and they're all the same company. Bluehost, HostGator, they've got several others under the same umbrella, but performance is going to decrease. It's going to be degraded. You're going to be sharing your hosting with a lot of other websites. So that's also a type of hosting called shared hosting, where your website resides on the same host as potentially thousands of other websites. So any issues that come up on those websites could potentially risk your website. So no matter how much you take care of your website and how good of a job you do with that, if you're on shared hosting with thousands of other websites, anything going wrong with those websites could also take your website down because they're on the same hosting. It's basically on the same computer, same hard drive space. What I like about Cloudways is when you buy Cloudways, you're buying your own server. So it's not a full dedicated server, but it's essentially a virtual partition of a server that blocks your websites off from other websites. So you can have multiple websites on your Cloudways server, but you're not connected to all those other websites. So back to what I was talking about. When you purchase your hosting, you install WordPress, which I have videos on how to sign up for Cloudways, how to set up WordPress on Cloudways, so you can get an idea of how that works. But when you set up WordPress.org, you're setting it up self-hosted on your own hosting. So you have the flexibility and the ability to install all the plugins that you hear of that are for WordPress. That's for WordPress.org. So you can use Elementor, you can use Cartflows, you can use any of the form builder plugins, anything that you want to use that's for WordPress. You can use on WordPress.org, but not on WordPress.com. So if you just need a simple blog and you don't want to worry about all the plugins and stuff, you could go with WordPress.com, but you need to know the difference because there's a big difference, and you don't want to start building your website on WordPress.com and then decide that you really need to be over on WordPress.org because of certain tools that you need, because you can't easily transfer that over. They are two separate ecosystems almost. I'll go into more about WordPress multi-site in another video. You can actually do your own WordPress multi-site host on WordPress.org. So you can essentially make your own WordPress.com and brand it however you want. So that's it's been really popular the last year or two. It's called a WAS, WAAS, website as a service. I don't do that because it's really not my business model right now. But I can leave some information about that. I can link to some information about that. But mainly just wanted to touch on the difference between WordPress.com, WordPress.org, and the fact that if you want to build a full website, you really need WordPress.org. Stay away from WordPress.com.